A Hellspawn is getting divine intervention. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys Spawn, the Redeemer. The Redeemer is considered the anti-Spawn, heaven's equivalent of a Hell's Hellspawn, a powerful religious warrior infused with heavenly matter and a purpose to be durable warrior of God. A mysterious organization known as the Ethereal Masters chose worthy mortals to be the host of the Redeemer and transform into angelic warriors to battle Hell. Unfortunately, the Redeemer typically retains no knowledge of their mortal lives, even if they return to the mortal realm. However, the current Redeemer, Eddie Frank, not only retained his memories, but fueled by the rage towards the Hellspawns, made him the most powerful Redeemer to date. Now, just before we get a closer look at the Redeemer, how about we first figure out how tall the figure stands? To do that, I'm going to grab my ruler. Now, you could look at this figure one of two ways. You can either go right to the very top of his helmet, which would take the figure to about 7 3/4 inches tall, or about 20 centimeters tall. Or if you want to go further than that, you can go right to the very top of his wings, which puts the figure at around 9 inches in height, or 23 centimeters tall. I'm sure it would probably be helpful to bring a couple of figures in for some size comparisons. So let's first bring in the mega-sized Violator. I'm going to do my best not to knock his wings at all, because that would knock over the figure. He's kind of just slightly off to the side. There he is. Redeemer goes to about the elbow area of the mega-sized Violator. I know he's kind of just off to the far side camera. Here he is, also next to Gunslinger Spawn, one of my personal favorites. Not that really any of these are personal favorites. I mean, they're really all great figures from this line. We also had a look at Raven Spawn. We'll put him next to Raven Spawn. Redeemer is a little bit shorter than both Gunslinger Spawn and Raven Spawn. There's a lot of Spawn I'm saying in this. And then here he is next to the Clown. Obviously, the Clown is the shortest of the batch. But yeah, Redeemer isn't as tall as Raven Spawn or Gunslinger Spawn, but he certainly is a lot taller than the Clown, a figure we just recently had a look at. Looking at the figure's accessories, starting first, it comes included with a display stand. Very observant viewers you all are to recognize that this is the same display stand that we've gotten with other Spawn release figures as well, with the same Spawn logo printed down below. It's only one singular peg, and that would be the case with all the display stands. I would certainly say make use of this display stand. I'm actually even surprised as of right now, while I'm talking away, yammering behind the camera, that Redeemer hasn't fallen over. I'm having some good luck so far. Let's hope that luck continues. The figure also comes included with a sword. Unfortunately, the sword has seen better days. It's slightly on the warp side. Just taking this out of its plastic prison, I may have to heat this up just a little bit. Luckily, at least it's softer plastic. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to heat that up just in a little bit of boiling water. Just straighten that up a little bit. But it's a nice looking sword, though. Both the guard as well as the hilt. A very long looking blade as well. Just love the detail work that even in the smallest end of things, the scroll work that they've sculpted into the length of the blade. Hopefully you guys are able to see that. And really nice detail work on the actual guard. Nice looking sword. It does really fit into either one of his hands, but again, that will add to a little bit of top heaviness that the figure is already dealing with, even without the sword in his hands. One other thing that I did install to the figure that you probably have already guessed for yourself is that the wings are separate pieces when you take the figure first out of his packaging. It just wouldn't be able to accommodate sitting inside that box like that with the wings already attached. The wings seem to be the same ones that came included with the Batman Who Laughs, the winged version that we also had a look at here on this channel a while ago. And again, working the same way. Taking the figure, all you have to do is then take the pegs, making sure helpful to take the wings and have them facing the right way. You don't want to have them flipping around the wrong way. But yeah, they just fit into the back. There's holes on the back of the figure. The reasoning why I'm not redoing this in this video to show you guys how it attaches into place with is I've noticed that once the wings are in there, they don't seem like they really want to come out. And I really don't want to break the peg to only want to really put the wings back in place for this review. So just kind of take my word for it. I've taken the pegs, fit them into the holes that were provided on the back of the figure's torso. And once they're in there, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to remove. The wings, by the way, do have posability. So you can rotate them back and forth this way. And you can also hinge them back and forth this way. So if you do want to have the wings further back, you can do that. Or you can have the wings further forward. You can do that as well. In either way, though, unfortunately, it does cause the figure to have a lot of problems with standing upright. So yeah, going back to the point I mentioned earlier, make use of that display stand. He does have peg holes on the undersides of his feet, so that is going to be helpful. I did notice, though, getting the figure out of the packaging, which already doesn't help my problems I would have with the wings, is that his ankles are really loose. This ankle is the looser, I think, of the two. This one's not as bad, but it certainly will cause issues, I think, with the figure being able to stand upright. The wings are gorgeous, though. I love the sculpting of these. Again, the same ones, it seems, as the one that came included with the Batman Who Laughs. As you can see, each one of the feathers, it looks like they've likely just used darker gray plastic and then dry brushed a lighter color over top of it. The end result, though, is really nice looking wings. As for the figure itself, let's get a closer look at the head sculpt. I've always been a big fan of the Redeemer. I like the design that they go with for him. Some people also call him anti-spawn. He does have the spikes, kind of a mohawk of spikes across the top of his head. The colors generally for Redeemer are usually blue and gold, and continue that trend, of course, with this release. If I could offer up any little bit of criticism, I would say like the blue works pretty good. The blue is a little different in some of the areas, like around the area of the belt. It seems definitely a different color than they go with the blue up at the top here. In fact, actually, like this section of blue and this section of blue doesn't seem to be the same blue that's on the arms, the mid-abdomen area, and the lower legs. I guess it's also certain lit conditions, because it also seems like this one leg is slightly a darker shade than this coloring right here. I'm sure it's, if anything, it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. That's not the little bit of critique I could offer up, though. While I think the armor is really nicely done, the way that they've sculpted in, again, the scroll work into the texturing of the plastic, I feel like the gold is a little too washed out. It doesn't have enough oomph going for it. What could make it more oomphy? Maybe if they had gone with a darker color, maybe if they had added a darker wash to help bring out some of the details that they've sculpted in here. Or if they had even gone with a metallic gold. Because, I mean, it's already happening here on the top of his head. You can see that the cross that makes up the front of his face is painted in gold, and yet here they're using gold plastic, which is fine. Again, it's okay. But I think if they had used the same gold paint to paint this all in, I think like the armor would have popped a lot more than what it's doing right now. It sort of feels like it's missing one extra step of paint. I don't know if, again, I'm the only one that's really seeing that. I mean, it's nice looking armor, don't get me wrong, but I think it really needs a little bit of extra, just a little bit of extra love, I think would have helped to make that armor really, really shine, literally and figuratively. I certainly would not knock the sculpt. The sculpt is fantastic on this. As we continue our way down, you can sort of see that he's got the band of little crosses there on his one leg, and then the armor extends up on the other side, which obviously isn't going to be symmetrical on the both sides. It does have some really nice detailing done to the side leg armor, which go all the way down to these leg guards that go into his boots. And again, the boots are nicely sculpted. The blue is good. Again, I like the coloring of the blue that they went with. I think it's just the fact that the gold just then needs a little something extra. Again, whether that little something extra means a dark wash of paint just brushed across the surface, once again to bring those details out, or if they had used the metallic gold instead of just relying on the gold plastic, something I think just to make the figure stand out a little bit more, a little better than what it's doing right now. Looking at Redeemer's articulation, though, we'll start first with his head. Head rotates all the way around. Mindful that you don't prick yourself on the spikes in the process. The head looks up, and it looks down, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. So it's certainly not limited at all when it comes to his posability. When it comes to his arms, though, it's interesting the way that they've designed the arms, because the shoulder plates here as part of his armor is not only softer plastic, but they've attached it right at the furthest point of the shoulder just before it gets to the bicep. So he still retains the articulation in the bicep section, and it still means that when you move the arms up, as you can see, the shoulder part of the armor goes along with it. Very smart the way that they've done that. And of course, yeah, the arms can rotate all the way around. One of the problems you'll see, of course, it's going to get hung up around the wings. You may have to bring the wings back just a little bit to rotate those arms all the way around. He has a swivel on the bicep. The figure has a double hinge on the elbow, and he also has articulation in the hand. The upper torso is on a ball joint. As well, the lower torso is also on a ball joint. You can probably see it just behind the belt area here. Legs split out. Seems like there's almost a bit of a ratcheted joint happening there. They go forward, they go back. There's a swivel, mild swivel, the way that those legs basically are just attached to the joint inside. double hinge on the knee, which is nice and tight. That's good, especially for a figure that's going to have to bear the weight of all these wings on the back of his torso. And then he does have articulation in the ankle. You can move it back and forth this way. He's got an ankle rocker, and he does also have toe articulation. If anything that's really facing this guy problem-wise is not even necessarily spawn. It's just the fact he does have to deal with such heavier weight on his shoulders. The fact that he has to bear the weight of such heavy wings like this causes some issues. Let's actually have him facing the right way. Causes some of the issues of having the figure being able to stand appropriately. It does cause the figure, at least since I've had the figure out of the packaging, he's fallen over a couple of times already. Again, even surprised that over the course of this review, I was able to get this guy to stand at all, because I just assumed he was going to be falling over way too frequently, and I would have to rely on the display stand. I always say hold on to these to help display the figures. I don't know if I would necessarily want to put him in any creative looking poses. I mean, a flight stand display stand would have been a nice touch. We already know that McFarlane's doing that with some of their DC multiverse reviews, or multiverse figures. It would have been nice that they could have also included a flight stand to come include with Redeemer, because I would have liked to really been able to put him in a flight pose. I could still pull that off by making use of a stand that came included with another figure, but it would have also been nice to see that get included with this guy's release as well. Even though normally the Redeemer wouldn't be considered part of the DC multiverse, certainly for the purpose of having him displayed and spinning around in the rotisserie in a flight pose, I sort of had to pillage one that came included with the Superman and just use it for the time being. I might even just permanently have him displayed like this, because the fact that he does have these wings and also some difficulty standing, I'm sort of killing two birds with one stone by using a flight stand, which unfortunately doesn't come included with the figure, but something, again, I have probably about 4 or 5 of these kicking around anyways that I'm not making use of. I might as well just use it with the Redeemer anyways. The figure looks great, though if you look at it on the back of the packaging, I can't help but notice that both the armor as well as his sword is a much shinier looking gold. When you're comparing the two, his armor does seem a little more washed and matte on the actual figure release. Now, I think they could have easily jazzed this guy up with just a little bit of extra gold paint. Maybe something that they also used for their DC Multiverse Dr. Fate. I think the gold would have worked very well for the Redeemer here. I just don't understand why they would have just kept to the gold plastic. He really needed to pop a lot more than what he does. Now, Redeemer, like other of the Spawn figure releases from McFarlane Toys, has gotten himself a couple of variations. The variants are a little bit more expensive, and I don't know if it's something I want to go down the rabbit hole of wanting to collect every single release of the Redeemer. I love the look of the figure, but I don't know if I want to get every single release of the Redeemer. That's what I'm saying right now. Come back to me probably in a couple of weeks' time, and I would have probably picked up another 2 or 3 of these. But what do you guys think of the Redeemer? Let me know down below in the comments section whether you picked up the figure for yourself, or based on this review, and also let me know if you picked up any variations to any of the figures that we've looked at recently. I know we are getting ourselves a new release of the Gunslinger Spawn that's going to have that mini Gatling gun, but I think there is also a couple of versions of the Redeemer out there with different colored wings. I think even one of them has metal weapons, and that one's going to be a little bit more expensive. But have you picked up any other variations of the figures that we had a look at? I always like reading your comments down below. And hey now, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you turn on the bell notification. Make sure you're coming back, because we are going to be looking at more McFarlane toy reviews coming your way in the not so distant future. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.